Hi everyone, it's John Galante, president of AE Ventures, and I'm here with Giovanni Tomaselli, who is the CEO of Skybell Technologies. Giovanni, let's spend some time talking about the origin of the company and kind of your claim to fame.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. So Skybell Technologies, founded in 2013, the pioneer of the video doorbell space. The founders, Joseph Scalise and Desiree Mejia, are still very much with the company. Joseph's the Chief Innovation Officer, Desiree is the President and Chief Operating Officer of the company. And look, the origins came from, Desiree was actually pregnant with her first child.
Okay.
And she went to Joseph and said, I don't want to go to the door and see who's there. Can you do something about it? And Joseph's one of these guys that likes to tinker with things and what have you. And so sure enough, he came up with the idea of a video doorbell. And then they went to an Indiegogo campaign, and it was one of the most successful Indiegogo campaigns of the time back in 2013. And what was interesting was that they quickly realized that it's not a consumer play. Video doorbell, even though there are DIY plays in the marketplace, for them and their mindset, this is more of a professionally installed. Safety and security is not a DIY environment.
Yeah.
And so they kicked off in that fashion. And
how long did it take them to develop the product? I mean, did he start with existing gear, kind of cobbling together a makeshift solution and figure out how to make it a more elegantly engineered solution?
Well, no, Joseph is one of those guys that does stuff from the ground up. He really understood. And when you look at the very first product, which was the circular version of it, and you look at because that's my background. My background is manufacturing. I lived in Asia for 30 years. Design, development, integration. I've got over 150 camera designs under my belt. When you look at what Joseph did back in 2013, he was ahead of its time. Single board layouts, very clean. And most importantly is that a video doorbell is something that's in the elements. And it needed to be built in a way that would last. He was ahead of his time. Right? He knew what it took. He knew what it needed to be like to have that level of durability. And so he did that. And they did the Indiegogo campaign, and it was a huge success. And they made their first 200,000 pieces in the United States also. It was manufactured in the US, which I think helped them ensure that they had that level of durability. Because you go to Asia, you go to those ODMs in Asia, they always try to cost it down, bring it price down on things, and they compromise. Joseph and Desiree did not compromise. And 10 years, first 10 years of Skybell, they sold, had professionally installed 2.5 million video doorbells through the security channel. People like
you were an OEM supplier.
We were
Honeywell,
and ADT and Alarm.com and people of that nature. What was interesting was that Joseph was very firm when it came to the brand, the Skybell brand. And so each one of those 2.5 million devices on the button has the Skybell logo on it. Which was, I heard some of the stories about the pushback that, the big guys would say, who do you think you are? And, no, we want our brand on there. He stood firm. And because he was a pioneer, I mean, there wasn't, Ring came just after Skybell. Ring obviously, as you know, went down the consumer path and ultimately sold the founder sold the company to Amazon. But Joseph stayed true. But the other thing that Joseph did, which I think is what's defining for Skybell at the moment, is that he started to write all the intellectual property around the front door. And today we are the largest IP intellectual property owner in the world, actually, of home IoT starting at the front door. The doorbell is the gateway to the home. And interesting enough, Apple announced early this year that they're entering the video doorbell market.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and so they're going to be coming out in 2026 with their version. And again, for them, it's their gateway into the home. They've struggled with their home kit and what have you, and they feel that this is a great play for them to do that. But
I could tell you from my experience with the Security Industry Association, I've worked with the security industry a long time. The studies of burglaries note that most burglars before video doorbells started by ringing doorbells.
That's correct.
So talk a little bit more about the quality of the hardware. So I mean, is the hardware itself very similar to what was engineered and designed in 2013, or has there been a
No,
no?
no. I mean, from a mechanical perspective, it's very much the same. You know, the coating of the printed circuit boards, the outer casings that are used, the paint finishes and everything else.
Okay,
They haven't changed anything else.
that's
What
cool.
what has changed is obviously the horsepower of the back end chip, especially now with artificial intelligence coming along. You know, they needed to beef up those
Yeah.
the brains of the device itself.
So the hardware is part of the equation, but only part. The software is a huge piece, right? Too, the way this is the user interfaces that go along with this,
Correct.
and who they're for. Talk to us about
Yeah.
where you've landed with some of your software support and to support property management,
Yes. Yeah.
panel players, et cetera, as well as the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. But just to take a step back on
Yeah.
on that, when you look at the security companies like the Alarm.coms and the Honeywells, their video back end is Skybell. Now, some of these people have moved on and putting other devices onto that back end system.
Okay.
But that's another thing. That's where Desiree came in. They spent a fortune on developing the video back end. And one of the things that we're very proud of is that we have not had a breach into our video codecs ever. There's never been a breach.
So for our viewers, define video backend. What do you mean by that?
Video backend is when someone comes to, everything's on a pre-record, right? So when someone approaches the doorbell, there's motion sensor, they're already starting to record. Then you press the doorbell and it creates it creates an incident, right? Which is a button press. That is then put into a backend server, which we use AWS, Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
And then the images are processed.
So it's the cloud storage and
Correct.
processing is what you would call the backend.
That's right.
Okay.
So AWS has the cloud.
And you guys developed that piece too.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The whole co-op system, the connection from the edge, which is the device, to the cloud system, which is Amazon. That piece in the middle, all homegrown at Skybell.
And then what about the user interfaces from the cloud to the end user and to service providers that are also hooked into that?
Yes. So Skybell built its own app, right, at the time. But then also what happened was that some of those big OEMs said, we want to actually have the video piece inside of our app.
Yeah.
So when the app started to come into play, become more prolific, and so we did that. We did that integration. So in the case of Alarm.com, if you have a Skybell, you open up the Alarm.com app, right? In the case,
so you're like a UI ingredient.
Yes, that's correct. And it worked just fine. What was interesting also is in the 2018 timeframe, ADT wasn't adopting video. The two breakouts were Honeywell, which is now Residio, and Alarm.com. ADT came in and they were behind. And so they came to us, and because we owned the back end, we owned the middleware, we owned the interface, we were very quickly able to, within literally weeks, have ADT up and running.
So let's get to that software as it stands now, though, some of the evolution.
If you look at the current security system, the security industry has been selling the same quote-unquote bill of goods for a long time, decades. But when you look at the penetration of that, you're still in the 25 to 30 million homes that have that type of, there are 150 million homes in North America. And so last year we actually had a great opportunity to create a white paper with one of the big research firms it's called The Middle Market. It's a great white paper. And you've had people like Raymond James saying that the total addressable market is 60 million homes, right? Not how Skybell is going to do it, but how's the industry going to move from this early adopter piece to the late majority? Firstly, we started to enforce our intellectual property. That was important. We did that, and we've prevailed, and we've created some great strategic partnerships with that. But what it really did is it opened our mind to say, you know what? Skybell is more than just a device provider or an OEM. And there were some great openings. And so we're looking at that middle market and saying, how do we go get that middle market? But the other area that opened up, and again, this is where Joseph just knows where the puck is going. Last year he sat down and we sat down as a team and we said, okay, what's missing? Well, one of the things that's missing is that builders can't install a video doorbell until after they get the certificate of occupancy, or the owner has moved in, because you need Wi-Fi for that. okay? And then in the case of the rental market, right, how do you switch from occupied mode to vacant mode? Again, there's no solution for that. So Joseph set about and wrote a whole series of patents around that tech. Never been done before. At this event, we've announced our Guardian residential platform, which in essence is a video doorbell. It's a gateway that goes inside the home. And between those two devices, along with the 911 security monitoring, both self and live monitoring, we're able to take a person that owns 100 homes and protect those properties on behalf of the property owner with the tenant. So the tenant hits the security. And we all know, and we've seen the statistics, that if you offer technology, you offer security in a home, you've got a better chance of renting it than the one that doesn't.
Sure.
Right? So that's one point. But the other one is that there's always going to be a time when that property is vacant. There's no occupancy and there's no internet. How do you solve that problem? Our Guardian residential program does that. It's got an LTE chip inside the gateway, and it's got a lot of connectivity. But what's really exciting and what the team has done is created a complete dashboard so that property owners can actually protect their properties, view their properties, and switching it from vacant mode to occupied mode without having to roll it.
And that could be used on inventory homes for somebody in the built for sale market as well, right?
Oh yeah, we had a session this morning with a group of those folks, and it was like, if you're building 100 homes, you're not selling them all on day one.
Yeah.
Okay? You've built 100 homes, so you've got homes with brand new appliances, this and that, and then all of a sudden, but you haven't sold them yet. How do you protect them?
Sure.
Install the Guardian Residential. It's very, very reasonable, professionally installed by us, and even we can train their people to do it. It's not that difficult. And the idea is that when the property is still to be sold, the system in the back end allows maintenance people, contractors to go into the property that gets registered.
Right.
An agent goes in to show the house that gets registered.
Yeah.
And then the time when they're ready, the house is ready to be sold, right? There's just, they'll be given a 4-digit code, they'll type it in, and it comes out of the domain of the builder, and it becomes the ownership shifts to the property.
That's cool. The self-monitored 911.
Yes.
Tell me more. Now, that's proprietary for you guys too.
The case study is very simple. If you and I tonight having a nice dinner, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's I'm on the East Coast. It's close to midnight, and all of a sudden I get a notification that someone's at my front door. It comes up on my watch, comes up on my phone, and it's someone with a crowbar at my front door. What do you do?
Yeah.
First thing you're gonna do is you panic, obviously.
Yeah.
You call up your wife and she's fast asleep and doesn't know what's going on, okay? Or you call your brother down the street and he's gonna race over and be in harm's way. No, the way that it works, it's using what's called the Rapid SOS system, which is an amazing company that, if you take your iPhone, for example, and you hold the two buttons together and it says SOS.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That technology is owned by Rapid SOS.
Okay.
And so the way it works is that if all of a sudden I see this guy with the crowbar on my watch or on the phone, all I do is hold the 911 button on the screen.
Yeah.
Instantly a photo is taken of that person.
Yeah.
That's immediately sent to a 911 locally in your area, not here in Dallas. Number one. Number two is this image gets sent to whoever you've pre-designated.
Yeah.
So it could go up to your wife, it goes to your brother that lives down the street, goes to your neighbor. But then most importantly is that the 911 center locally sees this, knows it's a confirmed distress call, presses one button on his dashboard, and that image is immediately at the local police, and they're on their way to your house. And you haven't had to make a phone call, had to figure out which address they're going to. It's all preset.
Right. I think that's pretty darn
That's
cool.
the magic.
That's another magic innovation right there.